Welcome to the Ultimate Noobs Guide to Air, where in fact it's more my noob fumblings of air because really I'm not an air player. It's simply I got forced into position for like one game. I had to go away, read a few different things, and sort of discover that, T2 fighters, for example, are really good. That's my position here, and I want to share with you guys what you might do as a very noobish T2 air, and actually how much you're going to get blamed if a bombing run comes through. But also how to defend yourself and an inner look at, I suppose, some toxicity and how people do tend to mob up on people and get carried away with lies and things like that. So it's a little bit of drama involved in what I'm going to do, but I'm going to put up a stellar defense, I think, particularly for a noobish player like me, roguelike. So straight up, we're running with a bot lab. The reason is I don't do that anymore. But the reason I done the bot lab is just to get out the 3 constructors. I heard it's a little bit cheaper, so that's why I'm doing it. The constructor of the bot is definitely 2/3 of the cost at 80. I mean, it's a substantial cost saving, I must admit. So we do actually reclaim the bot lab by our commander here. So glad to know I haven't gone insane. I think I have 4 constructors, so I went a little bit greedy there with my T1 constructors for a total cost saving. I believe if we go over and look at it, there's no cost saving at all. Have I just heard lies, or is that been in a patch? Perhaps that's the patch thing. Look, we're going to see the relative build power. Maybe that's where we're going to see the difference. So these constructor bots have got build power of 80, which is a little bit less than, let's say, the naval ones at about 125. I can't believe they're actually cheaper in the end. Oh my god. Okay, so finally we've got a constructor bot out, and it's got a build power of 60. Okay, so now we see the difference. Whereas these guys have a build power of 80. So we're looking at maybe what is that? So it's a 1/3 extra build power for like 5 extra. I don't think it's enough to build a bot lab at the start, but I think a professional player might disagree. That small cost saving might just be enough. But be in mind, whether you reclaim something, you're losing time spent. You could be constructing something else. You're losing energy. So I'd argue that it's definitely not worth it. Go straight for the aircraft plant. Never do a bot lab. Now we can see this play from the enemy air commander. This is a little bit further on at the 10-minute mark. They've just exploded the commander. We can see all these construction turrets come online and building straight into this T2 advanced construction bot they've been given. They've just really focused on economy. They're scaling like crazy. And they've got like 5 T1 aircraft, just for sort of shits and giggles, as it were. So they've sort of got the appearance of air, whereas I've actually put out about 15 T1 aircraft. But it's definitely, I think, the wrong play. If we look at the difference in the scale of our economy, 25 compared to 57. So just absolutely massive. Now, I didn't beg for a T2 for whatever reason. I think there might have been bad blood with me and Spaghetti Man. I've got straight into the T2 lab, and eventually I'm going to get a T2 constructor here to actually scale up a little bit. So that's my noobish mistake right away, not scaling like an air player is supposed to. On the other hand, Brave X is an absolute model on what to do. These T1 energy converters, by the way, they're free. They cost absolutely nothing. So why not just put them in a big pond like that next to these construction turrets, which can use all that build power to build some free economy for you, basically. Whereas the T2 metal converters, they are convenient. They're only 10, whereas for the same space of 4 of these. So they're much more dense and just easy to build in general. A big pond like this mightn't be the worst idea, actually. If this gets bombed, so be it. I guess it's going to blow up the base. But in the early games, it's possibly worth the risk. So we're at 12 minutes, and guys, use this as a benchmark. 14 construction turrets in 12 minutes. I mean, to me, this is just crazy stuff, but it allows you to build those energy converters super quick. And then we've got this T2 aircraft lab up and producing fighters like crazy at the 12-minute mark. Over in my neck of the woods, I'm not quite a bean. I'm still building T2 mexes, guys. I'm really not where it's at. I'm hodgepodge building here and there and everywhere. I don't even know what an idle constructor button looks like. I've riven to 29 metal, like big deal. I know, it went down to 27 just then. Over here, 46, 49, unreal. All the while, he's building these guys like one a second. These T2 Nighthawks. This is absolutely the air matter or what it should be. Thank you for showing us this. I'm going to keep it on here a while so you can observe how this looks like, the positioning of the base and how everything's done. Look at this air superiority force, and it's a bit hard to tell necessarily how much there is, but there's like 33 or so, and I've got this very thin line of, you know, like 19, and half of it's T1 aircraft, so I've been outpaced here. I'm also starting to build wasps to try and contribute towards the woes of my teammates. Okay, so here at about 14:30 we start seeing these bombers put out. Maybe just a little bit before even. In the end, these guys have 22 construction turrets, and you really don't see any eco. After the eco is built, that's it. It's just getting funneled into units, and so many 22 construction turrets are having to go into this one T2 lab for this real timing bombing push. The funny thing is these freeish energy converters, 28 of them, they're not even really firing. We're on 0% efficiency. It is 100% the energy is being followed from these two fusion reactors are going straight into the production. And I can't even find a windmill or anything. We've just got these two solar collectors. The windmills must have been reclaimed. Interestingly, we see a Juno come down. I think maybe it's the reaction to these ticks coming through. All right, so we see air starting to move now. Okay, this is the first attack that absolutely disabled me, right? So this here was because I came down and assisted with gunships just to help push this back, and their air just came in and absolutely smashed me. I think the trade was actually okay in the end, considering, but, you know, still, such a difference in forces. Look, there's not many of me left, is there? So I think they've carried the day. Yeah, okay, so I did smash quite a few of them because there's only 17 left at the moment. So I must have taken down a significant number of their aircraft. I think I was just lucky here, but of course I lost my wasps, so, you know. Here I'm finding out the woes of producing aircraft at a sufficient rate. 22 compared to 5. It's not very much. It's gone back from 22 to 18, so a few have been reclaimed. My economy is finally firing, with the T2 actually having built everything. So there you go, the similar economy finally, whereas this guy's had this economy for a long time and it's just been building up towards the next bombing run. Now why this done my head in a little bit is because I was building AA and that around here. I had a more advanced strategy about using dragons, I think, and bringing them back to this air repair pad. As we can see, the AA is going down. So that sort of stuffed me. I think they took out a T2 and a T1, you know, and that set me back a little bit. A T2 and T1 constructor. We see this air, and this is what boggles my mind, hasn't scaled at all. It's the same old thing, yet again. We see the aircraft getting about to 40, the air superiority fighters, or even 50 before they want to do a bombing run. And here we go, we see the bombing run commencing with 10. It's not a... I do wonder why so many fighters compare to bombers, but must have their reason. Bombing the front line. And continuing on, or... What? Sniped the commander. Wow. So this is an excellent bombing run right here. Basically uncontested at this point. The air superior fighters has handled mine quite easily. Although though only barely, as it turns out, with all the AA and everything. And in the end, very good. Took out most of this base, took out a bit of front line here. Really took out Spaghetti Man. So Spaghetti Man's going off, and this still happens. Are you kidding me? We have the nobbest air players. Everyone's complaining. 2 air players. Now the interesting thing is, guys, this guy didn't produce a single aircraft. No, I lie. He might have produced a few, but it was pretty much my fighters. As you can see, we're producing them all the time. What's going on here? We've got all these advanced energy converters and no energy. They're using advanced solar collectors. This guy doesn't know how to play. I mean, he didn't make any fighters. I made 40 T2 fighters. Guys, you work out for yourself whether advanced energy converters and 700 power can make 40 T2 fighters and a non-reclaimed T1 plant. You guys work that out. At least I had the construction turrets in the end. So in the end, after that, I pretty much left. I think I was like, well, you guys do it. Here you go, Spaghetti Man. Take over and you do the air. And I think that's what we're seeing here. We're just seeing the remnants of my resign.
Battle paused.
So yeah, so that was that was a bit of strange toxic behaviour. Look, it is sometimes a game of complaints. I know it's not easy to get taken out by air and to seek someone to blame, but really a whole area here was undefended by AA. And these guys were loitering like hell. So, and it wasn't that much aircraft at the end of the day. It could have been micro to a degree. There's only 10 strategic bombers. So guys, before you put it on the shoulders of your poor, possibly noobish air player that might be within striking distance of the other air player, but not quite, build some AA, guys. You know, it's not that expensive. And defend yourselves. Otherwise, this will happen. Whereas me, what? Oh, it didn't happen because I had AA and hardly any of it, but there you go. Maybe that's why I wasn't targeted. Also, that's, I suppose, the benefits of a defense like this. I purposely made this actually very hard to blow up all at once. So the strategic bombers wouldn't have had a great time with me, but unfortunately all my forward thinking was a little bit ruined by me trying to do the weird air pad strategy and trying to think 3 steps ahead rather than dealing with this just incredibly succinct timing push from this air player, which is really difficult to defend against at the best times. And now you can see that now finally transitioning. Most noober players would not transition so succinctly, so they would try and do all things at once, like try and build their economy while trying to build this timing push, and it just doesn't end up working. So what we're going to do on the next video, I think, is look at Spaghetti Man, maybe Walnut Sack, and see what they're up to, because that's quite interesting as well. So let's rock on with the next video and see how we go. Okay, so this right here showcases a game previous to the air bombing one where Spaghetti Man and Walnut Sack sort of lost their collective shit. And we're going to show off some interesting plays actually for both of these 2 guys. While myself, I'm doing an interesting play here. Now, first up, I'm thrown a little bit and discombobulated by this sentence. I always get beat by spiders from this position. Like, this is pretty random, guys. So I thought there must be some sort of meta in which spiders were dropped by a transporter plane on this icon, and I don't know, but I think they're actually talking about the spiders inevitably that would get up here and sort of, you know, deny the canyon, or the guy here was producing spiders and saying bring them down here, and it is a hard thing for canyon to deal with. I didn't have that in my mind, but perhaps not. We'll see, because we are building a bot lab which leads to spiders. Now, an interesting tact I'm going to play in this game, and I actually would recommend against it, is building a super early T2 lab, sort of like an eco player, because this is front/eco, right? So I'm building some frontline units, about 10 grunts or so, to sort of man this, and then I'm going straight to T2. And I just want to experiment with that to see what sort of effect that had on the front line. But what I am a little bit held back from is what Walnut Sack does. And so let's see what happens. So I can see I've got my 10 or so grunts up the front line. I do attack from the side, and we can see absolutely wiped out the enemy. And that's the danger with just sort of uselessly manning a front line like that with 5, if you're not paying attention. Now, what I didn't really realise was that there'd be this force even greater in a perfect ambush position as I made my way down. And I lost 4 myself here. I lost 4 or 5. Oh, there we go. There was the extra one. So I had to run back to Mummy. Now, unfortunately, because I'm doing this weird build, I couldn't really take those losses to look like I'm a tangible threat. But I still took up my post. As we can see at home, I'm building a T2 lab that's almost up at the 6-10 minute mark. Now, give him his credit because he's knocked out a T2 lab really, really quickly. Of course, had to sacrifice commander to do it though, whereas my commander's still up and going. Now, we'll say this, Spaghetti Man isn't too quick on giving the advanced construction bots away. I'm not sure if this is typical. So in a way, getting the early T2 lab, and this was the whole idea, offloaded some extra T2 labs production from Spaghetti Man to myself in exchange for sort of 3 minutes of pretty lackluster action on the front lines here. Not recommended, guys, because of what Walnut Sack's doing. This sort of sneaky Pete put out in front of the beamer. So that was a waste. And this beamer, guys, like, does a lot of damage. Although it gets taken out, of course, by all these rocket bots all at once. When it's repaired, holy cow, does this knock it out. Now, as we see, Walnut Sack's going to have to come down and deny this, because I've got literally no other option. I mean, if I was the enemy and I saw all these solar combatants, I'd be like, man, I'm rolling your base no matter what it costs me. But Walnut Sack, give him his credit, he actually does dodge some rockets here and knows how to cloak, unlike me. Even Moonwalk cloak, which is like super duper impressive to me. So, maybe not a complete noob, but doing some strange plays nevertheless. As we can see, this little bit further back beamer, look at this, how it burns them down. Wow, took out that guy in 1 microsecond. Second guy. You know, these are expensive units. And because we're getting repaired, it's fantastic. Look, 190 metal. This is less than half the cost of an area defense laser, guys. So perhaps think about a beamer for taking on tier 1 units and properly repairing it. Again, we see it burning down. Another one. Down. Another one. Down. This one mostly disabled. So that is a demoralising amount of damage. And as long as you can repair them, absolutely fine. Okay, so I'm getting Spaghetti Man to tell me I've only done 2k damage. Like, little do they know that I'm really dropping the ball. But again, I am actually helping out the front. I am sending Sheldons in. They just take a god-awful amount of time to get up there. Like, he's saying help up front. I'm already out front helping. It's just, yeah. Haven't helped for the last few minutes. Stripper Crystal says, I am attack their base. Look at me. That's very cute. So Stripper Crystal is up here in the top left corner and it's come all the way down diagonally to attack this guy's. This would have to be one of the more random things I've ever seen in a game of Glitter. Found the desolate lane here and just struck right through and took out this space. So this sort of thing is very devastating whenever this happens. This is called a leak, where obviously someone on their front line hasn't done what they're supposed to do. We can see like a billion laser 1 turrets here and this sort of empty space, and Glitter's just moved right down and took everything out. Absolute annihilation of that base. Wow. So that has helped out our team enormously. Thank you, Glittermare. And we can see I'm already on patrol with my Sheldons. Now, my personal thoughts are that this, at 12 minutes, is an absolutely lame force. I'm not going to be up here for like 14 minutes. You would be much better off with some rocket bots or something, some thugs and a commander or something like that to really command this position. Because you're reclaiming, you would be up into T2 now anyway. But let's give this build strategy the credits due. You know, we have got, you know, maybe 8 Sheldon somewhat near the front line at 12:44, so it has got that sort of timing push element to it. Thank God Walnut Sack has held on with the one beamer cannon. Although they have got a few gauntlets now, so that's definitely 3 gauntlets. That's actually impressive. How Walnut Sack's doing this with the advanced solar collectors, I'm not too sure. We can see it's done with a healthy amount of metal in the bank and solar deficit. So when Walnut Sack finds out about wind generators, his mind will be blown. So I'm starting to say to Walnut Sack, look, mate, nice defense, but to leverage my range, I need something up front. So this is a giant miscommunication here, where I'm saying, look, I can bombard these guys all I like and annoy them, but until there's an active sort of push, I can't really support it properly. You know, because anytime anything creeps up on me, which they're going to, I've got to withdraw back. In the end, this has been a lot more annoying than I thought it has, actually, because I'm pretty much sure I'm basing this all off my radar. You don't want to find out how annoying Sheldons are. Maybe it is done off line of sight somehow. So at this stage, we're basically going back and forth with these guys. I'm working out they have a bit of a line or something here and not getting anywhere. So I see over here Pink say he's getting anxious. So with that psychological ploy, I'm like, yeah, that's what I need to hear. Let's strike there then. Let's cause the massive anxiety attack. And we give them anxiety triple-fold. And I guess this is the attraction behind Sheldons rather than building rocket bots. They're absolutely hopeless in front of Sheldons. They're just basically blips on a radar map waiting to get eliminated. An interesting ploy of the Sheldons to try and hit this. I do recommend building a radar tower here just to attract erroneous fire. But essentially, because I'm weak, I don't necessarily want to go through this canyon path. And that's it, get rushed by grunts or something from a side angle. I want to be a little bit conservative until I've got a front force. And this is the issue with Sheldons, is it does need to be backed up with, I don't know, maybe even grunts would be adequate. Just to have Sheldons by themselves a little bit weak. Maybe thugs and a couple of repairers or a commander. Okay guys, so I just wanted to quickly address the differences between a warden and a beamer. So the beamer particularly I think is good for T1, whereas the warden might be better for a lot more range. We're looking at a range of 480 compared to a range of 620, which sounds like a lot, but then it's only 140 extra. And the DPS dip is actually substantial, whereas this is instantaneous. I think 149 to 297. So the DPS is quite a lot less for the warden and for that little bit extra range to cost twice as much for a little bit more health and the rest of it. I mean, if you've got some repairers, the beamer is so much better value. Look, it's 190 compared to 480. I mean, that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, guys. Just get the beamer. Do not get this thing. In the end, we're seeing Walnut Sack's very interesting strategy play forward, with like overlapping gauntlets. I told him to push forward and he's doing it. God bless him. So here I come down. This has been a pest. This rattlesnake here. And I decide to finally take it down. As we can see, Sheldon's actually not a bad defense against the rattlesnake, if you can actually attack it and diagnose where it is and go straight for it. This really burns them up, the energy. Look how many tanks there are. Finally in this massive attack, taking out all these gauntlets and what have you. Holy hell. These construction turrets, so low health. But these Sheldons are just a pain in the butt. Able to stand off and deliver pain like this. Finally, Roguelike, the commander, comes up to try and greedily reclaim some of this field. Oh, we've got Sheldons on the other side too, by the looks of it. So we can see this Sheldon off. A pretty effective bombardment. I'd say a demoralising bombardment, despite the fact they're actually firing back this time. We've got our friends getting demolished. And this right here is why the canyon's great for the defender, just being able to hide behind things, like over here. Hide away from Sheldons. So me, I'm finally sick of bad support and brought up my mammoth. This is why I build mammoths for my Sheldons. Semi-successful attack. The mammoth, however, does get focused down, which is a bit of a pity. Very expensive. So really, you probably need more than one mammoth. So as I'm mammothless, I man this side again. Wow, and as we can see, it's a timing marauder push by Spaghetti Man. What a god. What a man. Spaghetti Man. At the 22-minute mark, actually doing what Eco is supposed to do in delivering weird sort of timing units as they give up on Eco for a microsecond. Now the great thing about the Marauder is it actually does have some staying power. Although this Canyon side did produce a lot of units, and definitely did push back against any sort of offensive push, Spaghetti Man had just that one Marauder too much, which just ruined his whole day. Look at this. This 600 hit point Marauder, which does all the damage in the end. Oh my god. The last Marauder. Good thing I made that one more Marauder. And somehow I've provoked these guys into attacking again. At least Walnut Sack has built some lightning defense turrets or something other than a gauntlet for the short range defense. Although the sneaky Pete right out front's always a good strategy, hey. I've probably gone a little bit overkill in the Sheldons in like having like 60 of them. I'm not sure why I've gone so over the top. Usually I might stop at like 40. I guess I want the Sheldon ball of Sheldon balls. 64 now. Now this is an annoying thing the enemy does, and this is why you have to build a diverse army to deal with this. It's just this extreme amount of spam. In the end, firing this many Sheldons just to get rid of a bit of spam is a bit inefficient. And look, it really does stop the advance because you don't want to be firing into yourself to get rid of this annoying rovers and what have you. But saying that, they've not got a non-zero cost. That's like 75 metal down. So as long as I can efficiently take these out, these guys are definitely bleeding metal, trading metal for time basically. Now a little bit in the weed strategy that you can do is sort of use your commander to take out these T1 units if you don't have anything else. You can take out the T1 units while building T1 laser turrets, so there is something you can do. In the end, I do realise I'm going to get sniped if I do that, so, and I also withdraw my lines because they're just getting a little bit too close. Now on the left side, we've again got our sneaky man, Stripper Crystal, with the T1 thugs. What a legend. But too easily stopped by the welders. Look at how efficiently they trade. So what we've got here, we've got a bit of a Thor from Spaghetti Man. A timing Thor, as it were. So I had timing Marauders, now timing Thor. And look, give Spaghetti Man his due. He does know how to build an economy and actually contribute at the 20 to 30 minute mark. Eco players look at this. At this point, I don't actually know what I'm doing. I've usually, as usual, got my mishmash. I'm trying to get my eco going after the fact. Like any good semi-frontline player, I don't know how to select idle constructors, which is of course hindering my economic efficiency. But as we can see, I'm starting to put out sumos. Now, I personally believe I should have just stuck with mammoths. I guess I was a bit disheartened by the last mammoth that came out. As we can see with mammoth versus sumo, sumos are much cheaper, therefore much easier to produce, I imagine. Can you believe this? 15,000 health. The speed is just a bit of a pity at 23. That is ridiculously low. But the range on the mammoth is actually not too bad. I think the mammoth thrives in groups. That's hard to get going when you have 2,200 in metal spent as opposed to 560, I guess, to hold that front line. Now, the one good thing the sumo has is when you look at the actual cost, the sumo is actually better, right? Like, until you get a little bit further along, the sumo is better if you expect to get short range happenings, like what might happen in the canyon. What might happen in the canyon, sorry. So I've tried another push at this time, and I'm just getting rebuffed like crazy. These guys have defended the canyon really well. In fact, I've gone from about 60, or you saw the numbers, to about 14 Sheldons. So combined arms is really needed. In fact, I would say that above 20 Sheldons, don't worry about it. do something else. And so what we can see at this time, at about the 32-minute mark now, is Spaghettman coming down with a heap of Thors, really just ploughing through the front lines quite easily. And I'd say this because anything sort of before the 40-minute mark, as far as T3 goes, has a really good time of it, because there's nothing T3 to really oppose it. So it just does tend to blast through the front lines. So it's a very good timing push to Spaghetti Man. Very much getting value for money. Because the fact is, when these things die, if they do not break through, holy shit, do they leave some metal behind. But fortunately, they take out that... they take out that Aphis. Does that do some damage? Hero Razorback. Wow. Which one got it? Both or? No, just this one. Oh no, I killed the other one. Maybe the blast. Yeah, so 5,400 metal to help consolidate your losses. Okay, so we see my sumo attack. So how's this going to go to my mammoth attack? Well, fortunately we've got a few more. We've got 11 sumos. We haven't got that many Sheldons now. And I've gone straight for the Sheldons, of course. Some random bomber. All the sumos. That's the end of them. I'm not sure who won that. We've got a few more sumos. Actually, I just want to pause here where we're getting taken down by this dragon and our successful, somewhat offensive is stopped by one bloody dragon. I just wanted to compare something because, like, if we went hovercraft, right, and everyone's trying to boot me and say, you mad bastard, I want to compare something. So our sumo, I know he's not at full health and certainly has a little bit more, I think, than a Harbin. So it's got a little bit more health. It's got about 1,000 more health, touch over, than a Harbin. Basically the same DPS, I think. Speed is 38. Now, I'm not sure what the Harbin's is. It might be like 5 more or something like that. Both are pretty slow. Range 275. This thing is like a slightly different Harbin. If I was going to sort of say to guess, the Harbin is most close to a sumo. Now, the thing is, a sumo can only go on land, whereas a Harbin could fulfill both duties, and that is absolutely worth the metal, because they're very similar in metal costs, I believe. Yeah, they're 500-ish, maybe 600-ish. I can't remember, but they're very similar, and so basically the Harbin fulfills both. You wouldn't build a hovercraft factory, you know what I mean, on a totally land map, but we have got both land and sea. The Harbin sort of fills in a slot because essentially what goes unmentioned, it is an effective sumo, and guess what, guys, it's only T1. It doesn't need almost 3,000 in metal T2 lab to produce. So you can produce those Harbins, day and night, and get that extra 3,000 odd metal in production. So that's 5 extra Harbins, and put them on the field, which is really an overwhelming advantage if you do nurture them. Obviously, you could do with some longer range units, and that's why the Mangonel's coming in. But if you assist your team players between sea and land, I'm sure you would find a use for them at all times. Okay, so away from that, we see this dragon and a total pain in the butt. As much as a pain in the butt the dragon is, look at this long range sand does take its toll, and he has to withdraw. I think survives in the end, annoyingly. I'm a believer that when it comes to this canyon, you need something a little bit more hardy than a Sheldon. And I probably would never run Sheldons again when trying to... Maybe if I was this player here, I would run a Sheldon for down here, 100%. But for over here, I think I'm into vehicles. I think that's what it is, what I'm into. For sliding down the side here or over here and being able to hide it behind things, I don't need that extreme range, which does come with extreme cost, and basically not being able to take a hit. Oh, although it's not the least health ever I've seen. Look, their DPS is 71. You know, so in any close quarters battle, that does mean they're going to lose. But in saying that, when I've got a couple of sumos there, no, it's not too bad. Just unfortunately, you do keep on mad rushing me rather than taking on the sumos first, and that takes us on top. So here we go. We see Spaghetti Man's final push with, can you believe it, Marauders and Razorbacks and Titans. Just a full gamut of T3 and the Thor. Like, why not just put everything in it? It does show the, I suppose, benefit of combined arms. So this is effective. Guys, if you're an eco and you haven't done these sort of timing rushes, self-examine, please. You're not going to win the game by aphises alone. But in saying that, the aphis number totally is a little bit low. Even I'm starting to, you know, catch up with, you know, if you look at the total number of reactors versus theirs. But that's it. You don't need 20 or 30 aphises.
Battle ended.
I guess you get a bit of an ego if you get a bull and then you get bombed to the shit the next game. Sorry, Spaghetti Man. Sorry, mate, but yeah, that's the way it rolls sometimes. Thanks for watching, guys, and seeing a relatively interesting glitter map. Not from my side. It was more trying to sell you. Here we go. See all this sort of T1 energy converters I've got up with my haphazard triad scaling. Try and go T1 first, guys, but don't go T1 first on glitter more than 17, 18 minutes. Change over, please, because those rocket men, they do nothing compared to Sheldons, as you can see, and likewise with vehicles, the same sort of thing. So you do have to upgrade, but don't leave derelict your front for like a couple of minutes, because you might just get a walnut sack which decides to do crazy on you and not do their job. It's a united effort. All right, thanks, guys. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.